All right, welcome back. In case you're just joining us, it's Nigeria's #1 financial newsroom. At the beginning of the program, I did say I'll be looking at Nigeria-Danish business relationship. And joining me right now is His Excellency Toben Antonio Getterman. Of course, he's the Danish ambassador to Nigeria. Welcome, Your Excellency, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
Very well. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Nice to have you. Looking at the two countries, I think I'll start by saying that Denmark is back to Nigeria, I think, after so many years. Tell me why you deemed it fit to come back at this time.
Well, I mean, the official Denmark has been away for 15, 16 years, but we've had a lot of Danish companies here. And there's been a lot of discussion in the government when or where should we focus. And 2 years ago, it was decided that we would open embassies in 3 countries: Nigeria, Colombia and Philippines, because this is where growth is, where the market is for Danish exporters. And it was chosen to open here in Nigeria, but we opened an embassy and also a consulate general in Lagos. So we have actually 2 missions now in Nigeria for the first time.
So does that mean that those that need visa to Denmark can actually...
They can come to us.
Get it here from Abuja?
Yes, and they can apply in Lagos as well.
Okay. So does that mean that the bilateral relationship or the diplomatic relationship between Nigeria and Denmark have improved? Because if you're looking at perhaps the reason why Denmark left, military dictatorship at that time, so are you seeing a kind of, is there a kind of confidence that you now have in the country as the largest African economy? Or what even necessitated the comeback?
Well, the comeback is for many reasons. I mean, Denmark is a small country. You already had that in the introduction, so you could see how small we are compared to Nigeria.
Very small.
But that's our survival as a country. That is that we can export, that we can have foreign trade. So we have to look for the markets where we can see here our opportunities. And 2 years ago, it was decided, looking at a number of countries, that these three countries were the ones that really could be helpful for the Danish economy, Danish exporters, Danish investors. And doing that, well, at that time, Nigeria wasn't the biggest economy in Africa, but just 2 months later, all of a sudden, it became the biggest one. So it was the right move. And we still think it's the right move.
Now, I know that when Denmark diplomatic mission was off Nigeria, there are still Danish companies here, isn't it? How are the Danish companies doing here? You were actually telling me earlier on that you were talking about the companies and all of that. Keep me up to speed with that.
Yeah. I mean, we have one big Danish company operating in Lagos, one of the terminals in Lagos, and they're actually accounting for close to 40% of Nigeria's and export activity. So that's one very big company. Then we have a number of other companies, recent ones that have invested in agriculture. And just last week, I was at a food fair in Lagos where 8 Danish companies participated. They were extremely interested in seeing what are the possibilities in Nigeria. And they came out from the fair with a very positive outlook. In spite of the situation, there are opportunities.
Now, you just said something very strategic. I reeled out some economic data that our statistical agency came up with over the weekend. It's not really looking good economically for Nigeria now. But as a country, do you still have confidence that despite the economic gloom or the cloud is not really that bright right now, the skies are not really that bright right now for Nigeria's economy, that Denmark is still interested in Danish companies? Because I can imagine a country of about 5 million people, that's like one state in Nigeria, so to speak. So what have you what has Denmark got to offer Nigeria? But I must also say that it's a very advanced country and high-class income country, so to speak.
Yes, what we don't have in size, we have in so many other ways. So some people like to say that we are punching above our weight, so that's nice to know. So Nigeria, beware. No, we have absolute confidence in this country. Every country has problems, economic problems. We've had it. We've had the crisis in 2008. And Nigeria, in this case, has seen crisis before and has always come back. So there's a lot of confidence in that Nigeria will come back to where it was before and even be better.
Let's talk about the trade balance, or is it imbalance now?
Yes, it is an imbalance because...
Is an imbalance?
Yes.
How is it an imbalance?
Well, we are exporting for about $150 million, which is not that much, but we're importing for $360 million.
So you're importing from Nigeria?
From Nigeria.
$360 million?
Yes.
What are you importing from Nigeria?
Well, 98% oil.
Oil.
And very little else. And we want to see that diversified. We want to see a much bigger share of other commodities that we can import from Nigeria. But on the other hand, we also want to export. But what we want to export should be equipment, technology that can help Nigeria advance.
Are you making moves towards that? Are you making moves towards balancing the trade? Can the trade even be balanced?
Well, in the long run, it probably can, but it's not this year, it's not next year. But what is even more important is that given the situation that Nigeria is in right now, Nigeria needs a lot of foreign investment. And we have companies that are really interested in doing this, and especially in the agricultural sector. And also energy sector. Energy is one of the main challenges in the country, everybody knows that. But you have a huge potential. You have sun. You have so many hours in sun. Just to compare, in Denmark you can use solar energy, and we have not even a third of the sun that you have here. But still it's possible. So make use of that natural resource you have. It would be really great.
How did Denmark advance, especially in renewables? Because I know that your country is really high on renewables. You've talked about solar. I also do know that you also get energy from wind. You know, renewables really Denmark. How did you actually do that? And what are the things, what are the lessons that we can learn from you? And as a country, are you engaging with ministers like Minister of Power, Housing and Works in terms of getting power from renewables?
Well, we have to go back to the early 70s where we had the oil crisis, the first real big oil crisis. At that time, Denmark learned a very, very hard lesson that we had to find out how to save on energy. So we started two separate but parallel tracks. One was energy efficiency, and the other one, look at renewables. So you have energy efficient buildings, houses, machinery, and we have wind power, especially wind power. We've been developing this over the last 40 years, and now we are actually a world leader in the technology for wind power. The Danish government set a goal for 2050, that by 2050 we would no longer use oil or fossil fuels.
By 2050?
2050.
Okay.
We are already more than halfway there. We use, or the energy production in Denmark from renewables now accounts for 50% of our energy. So there's a lot of money there, there's a lot of potential. And we can really make this work with Nigeria. We were fortunate that our foreign minister was here earlier this year to open the embassy. And he had meetings with several ministers. And we also, at these meetings, discussed how we can cooperate in terms of renewable energy. So there are very good prospects for this kind of cooperation. We can deliver the technology. You have the resource in abundance.
How about agriculture?
Agriculture.
Because I also know you're good in dairy products, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly.
Yeah.
While the minister was here, he signed a letter of intent with the Ministry of Agriculture on a whole host of areas where we can cooperate with Nigeria. And most of it will be in terms of investing in Nigeria and enhancing your food production. Could be dairy products, it could be meat, could be chicken, anything that has to do with a much bigger yield for your producers.
How is your meat industry done over there in Denmark? Your meat industry, that's beef, livestock, because we have the problem of herdsmen right now in Nigeria. Tell me what your experience is in Denmark. Do you have cattle going up and down the streets in Denmark?
Not really, I must say so.
How do
We
you
don't.
do it? How do you do it? Do you have grazing reserves or you have ranches where cattle or livestock is being... Tell me, I would really like to know.
We have the cattle and, I mean, we have two really big areas. We have cattle, and they are in ranches, all caved in, and so, not caved in,
Barricaded?
barricaded, you could say.
Say that, yeah.
And then you have a huge pig production. We're one of the biggest pig producers in the world.
Pig production, okay.
And most of that's it's a mixture between having them in big stables where they're produced, let's say, bred industrially, and we have the free roaming pigs for the, let's say, more ecologically friendly consumers. These two are highly specialized. So we're really doing a lot with technology to make sure that we have the best kind of breed, both in terms of cattle and pigs, and the feed. So it's very important that you have a good mixture of the feed, and the technological advances can make it much more profitable. So even a small country like us, we can export so much more than we can ever hope to eat.
So you've organized your meat industry, so to speak.
Very organized. I mean, the whole value chain, from the production of the feed to the farmer, from the farmer to the slaughterhouse, from the slaughterhouse to the processing plants, and then to the supermarkets and for export. It's a whole chain that has to work.
I think we really need to learn a lot. I also do know that Denmark has the 4th highest tertiary degree holders in the world. And they are, okay, let me talk about education. How come you have the 4th largest tertiary degree holders in the world? That means the Danish people are very literate people.
The thing is, we don't have many natural resources. If we don't have many natural resources...
You don't have many natural... What natural resources do you have?
We have oil in the North Sea, but we know that's going to run out pretty soon, maybe in 15 years we won't have any more. So we've had to specialize in a completely different way. We need education, and education is key to our development. And development means technological advance. So it's fundamental for every government in Denmark to make sure that we have a high level of education and that we get as many young people in the educational system and higher degrees as possible. That's our survival.
The International Monetary Fund says that Denmark has the world highest minimum wage. Is it because you're not a highly or densely populated country? You have the world's highest minimum wage. In Nigeria, we're still battling with 18,000 naira. Labour, the NLC, just called off its strike, and we're still talking about a minimum wage of 18,000. Labour is agitating for a minimum wage of 56,000 naira. In Denmark, the minimum wage is the highest in the world. How did you get there, and what can the administration, that's the Nigerian administration, actually do to increase minimum wage? Because most countries are not even talking of minimum wage anymore. They're talking of a living wage. What do you think? Well,
the minimum wage has been a huge gain for the unions. It's been a discussion between unions and employers. They're the ones actually deciding on the minimum wage, and that comes in biannual negotiations. So it's not the government as such that decides here's a minimum wage. These are the unions and the employers. They can see, well, we have to find this basis because the cost of living, we have to have that everybody needs money enough to have a decent living. So that's why we have the minimum wage. It's something that's been going on for many, many years. And it's been, I mean, a steady component of the discussions. I think it's very important that you use this model, that it's the unions and the employers that have this discussion. It can be very difficult for a government to go in and say, this is what you have to do. The government should support, of course, but because it's a give and take. In any kind of negotiations, it's a give and take. But the government should support this kind of discussion.
Have you been able to engage our officials? Have you constantly engaging with Nigerian officials on seeing how the bilateral and business relationship can improve between the two countries?
Oh yes, you know, that's my basic mission in Nigeria. That's why I'm here. The interaction with the government officials and other people, you know, in commerce and in culture, so on. It's basically what my work is all about, to ensure that we can help each other. We don't come here as the one who knows everything. We come here as the ones who would like to see where can we help you. And that's basically my mission in Nigeria. And it's also to tell about Denmark, what we do, like today.
Yeah. There is also a Nigeria-Danish Commerce and Industry, isn't it?
We have a Chamber of Commerce in Lagos,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And it's been working, even though we were not here in the official capacity. And I was really happy to meet up with them last year and to renew our very good relations. So another token that we're still here and we're in for the long run.
Is there also a plan in place, or perhaps something you're looking at to take Nigerian investors over to Denmark to also see how they can be part of your country's business atmosphere? Is it possible? So it's not just only Danish companies here.
Oh
How
no.
many Nigerian companies do we have there?
Well, do you want the real number?
Yes.
It's a zero.
It's zero.
We don't have any Nigerian companies investing in Denmark
So that
yet.
means there's an imbalance there.
Absolutely.
And we have Danish companies here.
Mm-hmm.
Can we have big businesses, big Nigerian businesses, or even small Nigerian businesses go to set up in Denmark? Okay, let me say, for example, in Dangote.
Sure.
Being in Denmark. And so what are you doing to encourage that?
Well, let me put it this way. Denmark is one, if we're not number one, we're number two as the best country to do business in. And that helps us a lot, attracting foreign investment. Not because of the taxes, because the taxes are relatively high, but because of all the other, the infrastructure we have. It helps them a lot. The education, their children can go to school, foreigners can send their children to school, and the very highly skilled labor force we have. So this is what we can offer any investor coming to Denmark. So we would like to see Nigerian investors in Denmark, definitely.
Are you making any plans for that? Has there been like a forum intimating Nigerian investors that this was happening in Denmark, who want your businesses to come over and be set up in Denmark?
That is one of the tasks that I have proposed to my embassy, that this is something we will be looking at and see how can we attract Nigerian companies to Denmark.
Okay. All right, just as we end this interview, what would you say to Nigerians, especially as Denmark is back to Nigeria after about 15 years, you say? What are you telling our viewers? What would you be telling Nigerians watching right now? Are you here to stay?
Absolutely. We are here for the long run. I just discussed this with my ministry just a few weeks ago. And there's absolutely no wavering. We are in Nigeria now and we will stay here. It's a good opportunity. Our relations are expanding, and that's all we need. Good relations, and even can we enhance them? That's why we are here and we want to be here.
So Denmark is open for business?
Very open for business.
Or Nigeria is also open for business?
Yes.
So it's a partnership?
It definitely is.
Many thanks for coming on to today's edition
You're
of
welcome.
the program.
Thank you very much.
All right, I've been speaking with His Excellency Torben Antonio Getterman, of course, his Danish ambassador to Nigeria. We've been looking at the bilateral relationship between Nigeria and Denmark. Of course, you've heard it from him. There's an imbalance, so to speak. Denmark imports about $360 million from Nigeria, 98% oil. While, of course, the other way, it's $150 million. And they hope to see Nigerian businesses set up in Denmark. I like that. All right, let's quickly take another break. When we come back, we'll be looking at the current economic situation, the SMEs intervention funds, and, of course, the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry. The president will be joining me after the break to stay. And this public sector